The reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and the Israel-Lebanon ceasefire lead our report this Friday, April 17th. A 10-day ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon officially took effect at midnight, marking a significant pause in the regional conflict. President Donald Trump has called the agreement a historic day for Lebanon, as displaced residents begin the process of returning to their homes. Under the terms of the deal, the Israeli military will maintain an expanded security buffer zone in southern Lebanon to ensure the stability of the border region.
The humanitarian impact of this pause is immediate. For months, residents in southern Lebanon have been displaced by the military campaign against Hezbollah. As the ceasefire began, we saw the first movements of people attempting to return to what remains of their neighborhoods. While the security buffer remains a point of contention for local sovereignty, the primary focus for the next 10 days is the safe relocation of civilians and the delivery of essential aid to regions that have been largely cut off from supplies.
Parallel to the ceasefire, Iran has made a major move regarding global energy security. Foreign Minister Sayed Abbas Araghchi announced earlier today that the Strait of Hormuz is now completely open to all commercial vessels for the duration of the ceasefire. This is the first time the waterway has been fully accessible since the conflict intensified, though Araghchi specified that ships must transit through a coordinated route established by Iranian maritime authorities. The reaction in the markets was instantaneous, with global oil prices plunging more than 11% shortly after the announcement.
That price drop reflects just how critical the strait is to the global economy. Before the war, roughly 1/5 of the world's crude oil supply passed through that narrow waterway. Its closure triggered the largest oil supply disruption in history. By opening it now, even temporarily, Iran is signaling a potential path toward broader de-escalation. However, Richard, the logistical reality on the water remains complex. The requirement to follow Iranian-mandated routes means that while the strait is open, it is not yet operating under standard international freedom of navigation protocols.
Despite thanking Iran for opening the waterway, President Trump has made it clear that the United States naval blockade of Iranian ports will remain in effect. The White House maintains that the blockade is a separate issue from the transit of third-party commercial ships through the strait. The president stated that the restrictions on Iran's own exports will only be lifted once a comprehensive agreement is reached regarding their regional activities and military support for proxies. This keeps the pressure on Tehran even as the flow of global oil resumes.
The diplomatic efforts to resolve these sticking points are centering on Pakistan. Last weekend, Vice President J.D. Vance met with Iranian Parliamentary Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf in an effort to reach a permanent settlement. While those talks failed to produce an immediate breakthrough, partly due to accusations from Ghalibaf that the United States allowed the Lebanon campaign to continue despite previous agreements, a second round of negotiations is expected this weekend. The goal is to move beyond the temporary 10-day window and establish a more durable framework for regional security.
Transitioning from the Middle East to Europe, the energy crisis has taken a sharp turn toward the aviation sector. The International Energy Agency has issued a stark warning that Europe has roughly 6 weeks of jet fuel left in its aggregate reserves. Fatih Birol, the head of the IEA, characterized the situation as critical, noting that some individual countries have fewer than 20 days of supply remaining. This shortage is a direct consequence of the prolonged maritime disruptions and the shift in refinery priorities over the last several months.
The timing could not be worse for the travel industry. As we approach the peak summer travel season, airlines are already reacting to the supply crunch. Several major carriers have begun cutting flight frequencies on short-haul routes to preserve fuel for long-distance international travel. We are also seeing a sharp increase in fuel surcharges and passenger fees. In cities like Frankfurt and London, urban planners are bracing for the economic impact of reduced tourism and business travel, which could further strain a European economy already dealing with high energy costs.
Airlines are also facing logistical hurdles beyond just the price of fuel. The IEA report suggests that the distribution networks within Europe are struggling to move existing fuel to the airports where it is needed most. This has led to a fragmented landscape where some regional hubs are nearly dry, while others have enough for a month of operations.
Government officials are considering emergency measures, including the release of strategic reserves, but those are generally intended for military or essential service use rather than commercial aviation.
It highlights the fragility of our current infrastructure. While we have seen innovations in rail and alternative transport, the global economy still moves on jet fuel. If the Strait of Hormuz remains open and oil prices continue to stabilize, we might see relief at the refineries, but there is a significant lag time. It takes weeks for crude to be processed and transported as refined jet fuel. For European travelers, the next 2 months will likely be characterized by uncertainty and significantly higher costs as the industry tries to bridge this 6-week gap.
As the Israel-Lebanon ceasefire enters its first full day and the Strait of Hormuz sees its first commercial transits in weeks, the focus remains on whether these temporary measures can lead to lasting stability. Negotiators in Pakistan will be the ones to watch over the next 48 hours. From Neural Newscast, I'm Richard Lawson.
And I'm Talia Bennett. Neural Newscast is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. View our AI transparency policy at neuralnewscast.com.